Have you ever wondered about the difference between religious and spiritual? Today, I'm going to unpack that just for you. Hey, I'm Bishop Johnathan Alvarado. Thanks for tuning on to my vlog. I wanted to take the next few moments and just share with you some thoughts, some insights, some things I've been thinking about concerning being religious and being spiritual. You know, oftentimes in contemporary society, there's a needless bifurcation between what it means to be spiritual. Everybody, it seems like, is seeking spiritual realities and to live in spiritual ways, to live in an enchanted existence in touch with the world of spirits. And I'm very much, as a Pentecostal believer, I'm very much concerned about and appreciative of those who are desirous of living in that way. People that desire to connect with the world of spirits, people that desire to recognize that there's a greater existence beyond this materiality in which we live, beyond this flesh, this veil of flesh, if you will. And many of the young people with whom I interact oftentimes are talking about the difference between being spiritual and being religious. And I'd just like to suggest to you today that that bifurcation between the two, in my estimation, is needless. And maybe we need to reconcile in our hearts and minds what it means to be both religious and spiritual. Perhaps we need to think about it in this way. My affirmation and applause of you for desiring spiritual things is because of your connectedness then to my own spirituality, in so doing, connectedness to a Pentecostal spirituality, connectedness to an enchanted spirituality, connectedness to the soil of Africa, out of which spirituality is a part of what John Mbiti would say, notoriously religious people that are inclined toward the spirit world, people that are inclined toward greater realities. And then religion, the idea of systematized, formalized, perhaps even institutionalized ways of going about or getting after those spiritual practices, spiritual desires, and spiritual insights that one might have. Now, I'd like to say to you today that these two, in my estimation, are not mutually exclusive, but they are mutually informing realities. Oftentimes, I encounter people that say, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. And so that gives them license to be able to behave in any kind of way in terms of the pursuit of that spirituality that does not require of them any sense of rigorous behavior, any kind of pietistic attitude, any way of being in the world that takes them really out of their comfort zone. But I've come to discover through church history and through studying the lives of really devout people in general, that people that are really devout, passionate, spiritual, inclined toward anything, whether it be a religious or spiritual pursuit, or even a passion that oftentimes is born in a spiritual sense, like a jazz musician or a musician of any sort, or an architect or even an athlete, that they are extraordinarily religious in the way that they pursue it. Nobody becomes a professional athlete just sitting on the sideline saying, you know, I'm athletic, but I'm not religious about it. Well, that person never achieves the highest end or goal that they possibly could achieve in that pursuit. Likewise, all through church history, those that were particularly inclined toward revivalist spirituality, a spirituality that was full of fervor and full of zeal and hot and on fire for the things of God, those persons oftentimes gave themselves over to rigorous religious behaviors whereby they were repetitious, whereby they were regimented, whereby they were connected to a broader institution. I'd like to suggest to you today that this is at the root or essence of what it means to be both spiritual and religious. You see, to be religious without fervor, passion, desire, internal motivation that only comes from the divine, one is exclusively religious. All they are is regimented, dead in works. But to be quote unquote spiritual without any corresponding discipline, without any corresponding action, without any corresponding involvement in the life of those, in the lives of those who also share that pursuit of spirituality and that pursuit of God, That is simply a life of lackadaisical self-pursuit and not the pursuit of God. I'd like to challenge you. You know, at one point in my life, I was a professional musician. And one of the things I discovered about being a professional musician was that I had to rise earlier, practice more, listen more intently, participate in the broader music making enterprise in my city and in every time I had an opportunity, in order for me to maintain levels of professionalism and to be able to connect with, cross-pollinate, and be able to glean from and impart unto other musicians who are on that path with me. It was a very spiritual journey. It was a very spiritual pursuit because I did it out of a sense of knowing that this is not only my passion, but this is my calling. I pursue ministry in the same way. I'm a bishop in the Lord's church, which means I'm thoroughly institutionalized in the house of God, but I'm also pliable and flexible enough in the spirit to be able to discern the moves and contours of how the Spirit is leading and guiding, perhaps in ways that seem unorthodox in this hour. I just want to challenge you to explore the spirituality and the religiosity that in combination produces a holistic person that can be passionate, pursuing the things that are in their heart to do, helping people along the way, serving God. There's a symposium that's forthcoming. I'd like to invite you to it. Stay tuned for this message. Hey, this is Dr. Johnathan Alvarado, and I'm cordially and personally inviting you to a symposium on Pentecostal spirituality being hosted by the Greater Atlanta Theological Seminary and Global Pentecostal Perspectives on Pentecost weekend, Friday, May 21st and Saturday, May 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time online. I want to encourage you to register and be a part of this life-changing event. We have wonderful guests, guest lecturers, and guest interlocutors that weekend in the persons of Dr. Estrelda Alexander of the William Seymour Foundation in Bowie, Maryland, the author of Blackfire, A History of Afro-Pentecostalism, and Dr. Robbie Waddell, New Testament scholar, early church historian, Pentecostal scholar in Southeastern University, Lakeland, Florida. They too will be with us on that weekend, instructing, encouraging, answering questions, and guiding us into this spirituality. You do realize that Pentecostal spirituality is the fastest growing spirituality of all the Christian traditions around the planet. You and I should be together on that weekend to dialogue, to discuss, to pray, and to hear from the Lord. Don't miss a symposium on Pentecostal spirituality. Pentecost weekend, Friday, May 21st, Saturday, May 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. both days. You may register at gatseminary.org. That's gatseminary.org. Click the registration button and you can register, and we'll be together on Pentecost weekend for a symposium on Pentecostal spirituality. I hope to see you there. Well, I hope that you'll take the opportunity to register and meet me for the symposium on Pentecostal spirituality. It may answer some more of the questions that you have. Questions that when we have conversations on the side, you're asking me about spirituality and religiosity. Perhaps the symposium on Pentecostal spirituality will help answer some of those questions. I'm going to come back in another iteration of understanding what it means to be religious and spiritual. I hope you'll join me in future vlogs. The Lord be with you.